Crayon Shin Chan is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Yoshito Yusei. It started as a spin-off from the Darakuya Store Monogatari series, another series by Yoshito Yusei. It ran from 1990 to 2010 and became a hit TV series, becoming one of the highest grossing animated TV series with 3 seasons, 940 episodes and 25 movies. It follows the adventures of the 5-year-old Shinsuke Nora and his parents, babysitter, dog, neighborhood and friends. Its cartoony design and 5-year-old protagonist may mislead you into thinking it was a comic for kids, but it was never meant to be that way. The first debut in manga action shows the crude sexual and violent humor very early on. The Shin Chan manga series had a lot of cuts after its debut by the creator. The first chapter you see is actually the 23rd serialized chapter. You see, Crayon Shin Chan is a little different than your average manga because its Tankoban order, which is Japanese for independent release that is complete in itself, think about comics such as Charlie Brown or Dennis the Menace, doesn't necessarily correspond to its serialization order. Yusei and his editors go back to group chapters roughly by content, setting or appearing characters so that each Tankoban will be divided into several sections, with each section getting a title. Knowing this, you'd guess that the first chapter is hidden somewhere in volume 1, just not at the beginning. Well, guess again, because the first chapter is nowhere to be found in the first volume. In fact, chapters 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17 and 26 were never included in any Tankoban release. The creators never gave a statement about why they cut these chapters. If you want to read them in actual order, you would need to read the original weekly magazines of manga action. There are millions of comics with child protagonists, but Shin Chan's character design immediately stands out with his thick eyebrows and his thick cheeks, and overall shape of his head makes him instantly recognizable. What I also like, what not many mangaka do, is that he draws the character from behind. He draws it at an angle that makes the overall head shape identical from the front as well as the rear, resulting in a character who's both instantly recognizable from both views. Whereas the head shape and eyebrows define the frontal view, the rear view is defined by the head shape and ear, hence the distinct ear design. The rear view makes us the reader do the work by imagining Shin Chan's expression. I especially like his grin when he is smuggling alone, usually at the anger or annoyance of others. Shin Chan started as a manga for adults, however when the anime came into production, the executives went for a more family-friendly approach. This is likely the reason why the first volume of the manga got delayed and why some chapters were omitted from the manga. This caused a lot of confusion. You see, the version of Shin Chan that you likely remember is the Adult Swim version, but this version is very different from the Japanese release. The American writers changed a lot of the script to the point that it essentially becomes an abridged series. It would be difficult to translate because a lot of the jokes in Shin Chan are difficult to translate to an English audience because it has a lot of Japanese cultural references. There are also set phrases and words in Japanese tailored for a specific social context that the localization can translate the literal meaning of but only weakly convey the same connotation. The Adult Swim version was filled with toilet humor and pop cultural references, making it more similar to something like South Park or Family Guy. Many of the European releases being based on the American version. For example, in the Netherlands and Flanders, the show had one of the highest ratings in children's television history, but it was discontinued due to complaints from parents deeming the show too offensive because of the many sex jokes and crude humor. Despite the Adult Swim version being different, it is still very funny. The writers put a lot of effort into Americanizing it without making it unfunny. For example, there is a reference to the Mother series, which I really like. The first English dub version was much closer to the original and was made by Vitello Productions. The later version from Funimation had a Texas-based voice cast and is the one that ran on Adult Swim and was altered much more heavily. In an interview with the director of the anime series, Yuji Moto stated that he is not a fan of horror but that he likes creating horror episodes. He also said that working on Shin Chan is like reconnecting with an inner child because of the childish nature of Shin's jokes. Episode 93 aired in Japan but never saw a release on home video, streaming media or recently aired episode. The Spanish dub, which translated nearly every episode of the series, also skipped this episode. This dub only skipped a total of 6 episodes out of 825, while the other episodes that the Spanish dub skipped were released on Japanese home video or are available on the internet from Japanese re-airings. This episode hasn't appeared on the internet at all. The official episode list on the TV Asahi website skips episode 93. This episode is likely banned for an unknown reason. Shin Chan went on to get a lot of spin-offs, including Action Mask getting his own spin-off manga. Crayon Shin Chan Gaiden, which is the first season of the spin-off series, is set 100 years from the present time. Starring with the entire Nora family and their pet dog waking up in an unfamiliar space station. Shin Man, which is set in a parallel world known as the Shin Dimension, which is basically a parody on the 5-person tokusatsu programs like the Super Sentai series. Another spin-off series is Hiroshi Nora, Style of the Noon Meal, which is a manga about Shin Chan's dad, and a crossover episode with Kamen Rider. Shin Chan is a series from my youth that I fondly remember watching as a kid. If only I could read Japanese so that I could read the manga in its original form. Despite Crayon Shin Chan's manga being done due to the death of Yoshito Yusei, other writers kept making spin-offs and movies about Shin Chan due to Shin Chan being a pop cultural phenomenon in Japan and in many other countries to some extent. Shin Chan is one of the highest grossing manga series to come out of Japan, and the anime also performed really well. But now that Shin Chan has faded to obscurity due to it being a relic of the 90s in the West with no new episodes coming out or re-airing. But there is one thing I know, East or West, we just can't get enough of that mischievous 5-year-old boy who's always up to something, smuggling alone at the anger or annoyance of others. Thank you for watching.